Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Wisdom Exchange number 7. So today we're going to talk about perfectionism. How does it occur? What happens to us when we're in a grip of it? How can we let perfectionism go? Where does it even come from? And how can we overcome it? So before we get into that, I'm super excited just to do another live stream because I noticed as well in me some perfectionism when I'm sitting here trying to prepare for this live stream or certain emotions coming up for it to be perfect or for me to be in a perfect way. But then again, noticing that it's not necessarily putting an image out there of success or trying to be something I'm not, but rather just accepting the situation, why I'm doing this in the first place, and just coming home to myself. Because often perfectionism occurs when you're trying to be something too extra and not trying to just be ourselves authentically and live in our authentic selves and just turn up as who we are in the best way possible. And that uniqueness in itself is perfect. And so we don't really have to strive to do anything. So it's very counterintuitive and paradoxical. So this is following on from the Wisdom Exchange 6, where we talked about the Bruce Lee mindset in terms of going with the flow and how we can go past perfectionism. And it kind of contradicts the Bruce Lee mindset about be water, my friend, because mindset suggests a set of mind, but what we're actually doing is allowing your mind to be empty and allowing it to flow, right? So it's not really a mindset, it's more of a mind flow. And so let's start with what is perfectionism? So perfectionism is really going to the extremes of yourself, either hyper emotional, overthinking, just hyper or hypo to the two extremes and getting stuck there and trying to achieve this notion of being perfect, whether it is being in our looks, what we do in terms of morality. A lot of religious people could fall into perfectionism, trying to have a high level of morality and self righteousness. It could be also just trying to achieve success, and also the another extreme of trying not to achieve success or trying not to look good. So we can see how we can be caught, the mind can be caught, the emotions can be caught in this perfectionism. But again, slowing down, it's not all about the mind, it's not all about the emotions, it's just noticing what is true right now. And so we'll look at acceptance and contentment as well. And so that's a bit about perfectionism if you didn't know much about it. And maybe if you didn't know about it, you can start to see it within yourself, getting caught up in these thought loops. How does it occur? And what is this wanting to control? And what does letting go mean? Right? So I always talk about the South Asian perspective since I'm very interested in the South Asian diaspora, helping people of the South Asian background, and many people watching this might be of South Asian background. So just being very clear about how can it occur in this diaspora particularly. So without going into too many details, seeing that from the parent side, so example from school grades, where achieving 90%, 95%, 99% is not good enough in terms of the society. You know, a lot in England, they have a high amount of pressure. In America, they have a high amount of pressure to complete their school grades and then get into law, engineering, medicine, dentistry, veterinary. And so kids will start to work very, very hard in subjects that they might not be as passionate about, or they might be passionate about, but they put an extra level of perfectionism on top. And this can lead to conjoining their self-worth, so what it means to be themselves, with their exam grade. And so when they don't get that, you can see in India so much competition, suicide occurs, right? There's a family who are sending their kids abroad to America, Canada, UK, and they're doing maybe subjects that they're not liking, but because their self-worth is attached to their grades, then, for example, a school kid who's got a B instead of an A, or an A instead of an A star, they're crying. They Their self-worth is attached to to their grades and not themselves, right? So that is a perfectionism again. And so as they go on through life, then they'll see this manifest in their career goals, their university, their relationships. Again, that parental voice or societal voice attaching their self-worth, who they are as a person, to their grades or their achievement. And so that's where the perfectionism comes in. I'm not good enough until I achieve this, rather than distancing yourself from the craziness of the mind, like it's chasing some kind of nut, or a dog chasing a ball, and just being centered and saying, who am I? What do I want to achieve? Who am I without these grades? Who am I without my career? Who am I without any relationships in the life? And that's why I always advocate going slow, going into the nature, away from a lot of the collective mindset or even the self mindset, and just seeing how the natural world operates, the animals, the trees, the sky. And so we can start to see, okay, what is going on here? What is pushing me too much within my own mind and maybe within my own culture? So that is a bit about perfectionism. How can it occur in a real life sense? Going a bit deeper, I'll give a personal example, because giving a personal example also helps to alleviate from myself, and just show that I've come that far, but also it can help people see that within themselves, because it's not just these patterns occurring specific for me, but it's a pattern occurring within the human mind that can occur within any human mind. So when I'm growing up, maybe or maybe not, because of a South Asian family, example being skinny, right? So I struggled when I was a little kid, like 7 months to 7 years, throwing up all the time, or just struggle eating. So I don't know if that was because of my allergy, my nut allergy or sesame allergy, or I was just a fussy eater. I'm not sure why, but I just struggled eating, and I was just a natural very skinny person. So my family background from my dad's side is also very skinny. And I always likened it to the hunter gatherers in like Africa, or the marathon runners. I've got the same body structure, and the society that we live in now, or maybe the Punjabi society, is maybe don't see that in the same light. And so I have a lot of comments about being skinny. Even at school at one point, someone called me anorexic, which I thought was very weird. Um, but I was skinnier than most kids, and people around me were saying many, many, many types of comments, calling me names based on skinny, and also, again, taking a step back, seeing out where the collective mind is at. Are the persons saying that secure with their own bodies? Are they secure with their own health and state of being? If so, then maybe they're saying it from a good place. If not, then when they're coming into contact with you, what's the first thing they're saying to you? What's the first thing that they're saying about your facial appearance, about your body, and how does that reflect about their security about themselves? But as a kid, you can start to take that on, and you'll know as well if you're a girl watching this and you've slightly tended to the more overweight portion. I'm not saying, where you're very, very unhealthy and people are pointing that out to you, but just when you're slightly overweight but you're happy with how you are, or you just need a little bit of exercise. But people are coming in with critical comments, especially from the South Asian diaspora, that I've seen in comments a lot on the internet about as well, about their family criticizing them. That can be internalized and again pushing themselves too far in one direction or being rebellious in another direction. So again, that's how that collective mindset can be internalized in a human being, and then that bullying or that judgmental aspects can filter down to next generations. So it's important to take a step back and notice what is going on here and what is true within me and what is my body naturally wanting to express. So, going back to my example of being skinny, I really liked going to the gym actually. I started to go 5 times a week. Some guy called Jonathan, shout out to Jonathan. The gym was quiet. He helped me in the gym. He was a gym instructor at my university. And I was super scared about going to the big boy section. And he helped me do the squats, doing the deadlifts, doing the bench press. And I was having big gains. I was doing good. I started to do like 10 kilograms either side and a 20-kilogram barbell. And then I worked up to like more than 70 kg, right? And the guys started to be like, wow, I noticed you like a few months ago, half a year ago, doing, 10 kg at the start. Now you're doing 70 kg. And wow, I noticed a big difference. But then perfectionism. So I don't know if it was because of these comments in the past or just because of natural perfectionistic tendencies, but I started to notice a plateau. And sometimes that's okay, to get to a good maintenance level, but wanting to push past that, looking on YouTube, seeing that I should eat more, I should wake up more early and just go a bit further, having salmon, preparing pasta, but then noticing, is it practical? Having many food a day, like 5 times a day, is that natural for the body? I later found out through podcasts like Dr. Chatterjee's podcast, Feel Better, Live More, that it's better to have these fasting periods, and that's more natural. So then it's the tendency of, I want to push myself, but what is healthy to push myself? And that is that dance, right? It's not an exact science, it's that emotional well-being where I want to push myself, but what is healthy here? And so then noticing, having all the extra chicken, packet chicken in the sandwich from Sainsbury's, having extra pasta, preparing my meals and going a bit more in overdrive actually is more of a detriment. And so it's that fine line, that middle way that we'll keep coming to. So then perfectionism. And then COVID happened and I didn't go to the gym. And so it came the complete opposite, right? Where I didn't do anything and I was a sort of rebelling against the gym. That could have happened. But of course, I picked up the weights and I started to do running and I started to do home exercise. But I can see how you can fall in to the opposite side. And I did actually have some thought patterns of saying, why should I go to the gym? Like things like that. So just noticing within you, where is the perfectionism? Where are you tending to? So that was a good example. And hopefully, maybe if it's not the gym, you can see in other areas of your life how you could start doing something and how it could, the maybe preparing the eating or wanting to lift a bit more weight and getting angry at yourself. But it could be something else like wanting to push yourself more, like these live streams, right? Just having a nice, where I'm preparing a little bit. I'm not trying to be too perfect. I'm trying to be authentic. I'm trying to be natural. I'm just trying to be myself to the best of my ability. And hopefully, then that shines forward. And so that was a bit of a personal reflection because it's good not to sometimes get abstract. And now, just moving forward into seeing how that perfectionism can come from the family aspects from within as well, and from the high school grades, from the body looks and things. Not trying to let yourself go, but also try not to push yourself too far, and seek for validation. And so will essentially see themselves. I'm just going to have a little drink of water. And if you've got some tea there, have a little drink as well. But yeah, so you'll see in society, right? So I want to just be very clear again and say this is not females and males, but again, noticing a more creative or creative energy, like this Shakti energy you'll get in Vedic tradition, like Shiva Shakti, right? You'll get this more feminine energy of the universe, and then you'll get this masculine, more order energy. And so you'll see in the stereotypical mother in archetypes. Again, I'm not being gender specific, but I'm looking at the archetypical or the stereotypical about be happy, live life, carefree, hakuna matata, like teenagers or child people, children, child people embody this. Or then you have the more masculine, the like late teens, early 20s, like the hustle bro mentality, like the yeah, bro, we gotta like wait, go to sleep late, no, early, wake up late, and hustle, 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 or no sleep, or I'll wake up when I'm sleep when I'm dead. That very extremist mentality. And if you want a success, you got to strategize, you got to plan, you got to blitz through everybody in your way. But you can see how both are at the opposite sides of your spectrum. That stereotypical paternal, stereotypical maternal, right? The creative energy, the order energy. And so when we get to creative, everything starts to become fragmented and there's no order, and it's sort of like it falls apart, and we're just trying to chase fun for the fact of being fun. And then the other side, hustle, 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 go, 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 success, 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 order, and it starts to get totalitarian, judgmental, and pause. So you can see how both is a formation of the mind, formation of the emotion, right? Both seem to try to want some sort of truth, but both are being possessed by the mind. Again, the mind, like I've spoke about in the shorts, is a projection of the reality, whether it be the collective mind or the individual mind. We are sort of like a dog chasing the ball, whether it be this carefree, fun life or this success, striving life to also achieve fun. But it's both a projection of the mind. So stepping out of the mind for a bit and looking at the mind, you know, and just accepting what is here, what is now. And so it might not be that we want this carefree, live life with no responsibility. And we might find we don't want this hustle mentality. And what we might find that the people who embody at the extreme ends this carefree mentality might actually find it hard to do the things like admin work, like mortgages, like loans, like pensions. They might find it hard to navigate the financial world. They might find it hard to navigate having routines, having structure, having a more militaristic way of being. And then the hustle mentality might find it hard to be a bit more flexible in their relationships, in their emotions, displaying the full range of emotions. They might find it hard, in their friendships, in their mother-father relationships. They might find it hard to relax and just be, right? And just be a bit silly and fun and dance. So again, integrating both. And you'll see this coming up in a lot, like the wise king, I think in Christianity or something. In Sikhism, you have the Sant Sipai, the warrior saint. Or in this case, you have the free spirited hustler, right? So you have integrating both. Again, it's the dance between the two. How can you integrate both? Because you'll see these concepts coming time and time again in history now, and I'm sure in the future. And it all comes down to the middle way of noticing where the mind is at, where the mind is trying to escape, either being in a carefree or escape through the routine, right? So that's the mind is very smart in trying to be a know-it-all, but then it can be trapped in its own logic or its own emotion, because when it gets hyper in that left brain hemisphere, it can be that hyper black and white view of reality where money doesn't matter or money is everything, you know? So when you're caught in that, you can get trapped in your own logic. And at the end of the day, logic is human made. And so that when we're trying to control things, when we're trying to be hyper logical, when we're trying to be too strategic or develop this 5 or 10 year plan, the most logical mind among us, that actually might be our downside, because we're being trapped in our own perfectionistic tendencies, our own logic. And that's hard to hear, because we can start to become arrogant. We can start to push people away, right? And so you can start to feel that when that happens. And so what's the answer? The answer, the middle way, like always. Taking the goggles off, watching the mind and asking, why? Where is this voice coming from that asking me to be carefree and not care about these things? Why do I not want to care about these things? Why do I want to achieve success? What is that voice or emotion asking me to achieve success? Why is that uncomfortable for me? Asking these deeper questions. And often these things can be driven from fear. When I die, I might not achieve that. Fear is driving me. I don't want to be in this position. I don't want to be like everyone else. Fear again. Fear can also get you so far. But when it's sustainable, when it's driven by love, when it's driven by, again, your authentic self, coming from here into here, but also using your mind, then we can start to get that balance. And we can also notice when other people are wearing these goggles, right? When they're a bit drunk by their mind. And we can notice that when we are in nature alone, we can notice, oh, life is much more slow, life is much more steady, I can go in my own pace. Or when we are going to bed at night, we can notice, oh, the events of the day to day, it seems much more, distant now. Or just when we meet somebody and then we disengage and we're thinking, oh, actually, how I turned up in front of that person wasn't actually who I am now by myself. And so we can also find ourselves drunk in a group setting, drunk by this sort of illusion of the mind, and also drunk when we're in the grip of it ourselves. And so having that time away, and not being too detached, but having a certain level of detachment certainly helps from perfectionism. And what we find is we can start to be in acceptance of the flow of what we're in, right? So we can accept, what is my situation right now? I'm not trying to escape it, but I'm just trying to accept the situation. I am contented with the situation. That doesn't mean I don't want to change it, right? Because it's not driven by fear, it's not driven by anger, but I'm fully accepting the situation. I'm contented with the situation. And what does that feel like? You're having to meet that emotion in your stomach, in your heart, in your mind. That's a hard thing to do, especially when you're in the moment in a work setting or a relationship. And then, now, how can I move forward fully conscious? Right? That's a hard thing to do. But that's why perfectionism, it it feels like it's the hardest thing to do, but it's actually, when we slip into it, it's actually a bit easier than being authentic in a weird way. Because being authentic is hard, but it's easy at the same time. Going the middle way is hard and easy. It's like in Sikhism, we have that khanda with the two swords, medium piri, and that straight line. And walking that straight sword path, we fall off either side. But that's not perfectionism. The perfectionism is going to the either edge. but going around this middle path, like the river, right? So the river is not trying to find the perfect route. It's if the path, you know, changes, the river will have the same energy and express itself. So, like us in our life, we're trying to not be so arrogant that we're this little person trying to control the whole of life and saying, this is life, this is me, I will control it. That's very totalitarianism and perfectionistic and controlling, right? But when we have this more submissive mentality, when we're saying, okay, I want to express myself, but also there's life, and I'm have a level of submission to life. I put my control over to life to let it flow. And then weirdly regaining your control and saying, okay, I'm empowered to what can I now do in this life situation. And that means you can, there's a fine line towards submitting to your failures and then just not accepting failure and go, go, go. Because when you're submitting towards a failure, you can then pick yourself back up, learn from your failure, and then try again. But when you're not admitting failure, you can just keep banging away, right? And so that's a fine line as well. So again, like the river, acceptance, contentment, flowing, but also having that power of the river as well, right? So you see how there's a dance here where the life is not really a science, but it's an art. It's the strategy, but it's also the carefreeness. It's the planning, but it's also the fun, right? It's the uh, setting the boundaries, but also letting the boundaries being a bit fluid. It's enjoying with your friends, but also saying, hey, you know, I need to go now, or this is me. So it's that fluidity, it's that flow, and really it's that be water, my friend. So I hope that helps about the perfectionism, about what perfectionism is, how it can occur, some examples, how we can overcome it. And it's all about, again, taking the goggles off, coming back to ourselves, expressing ourselves to our truest potential, because as a human being, we're unique. There's not really going to be another one like us. So, not trying to project to be a success, but just recognize we are whole, we are complete, we are the success, and all that is needed is just to express ourselves to our fullest potential. Thank you, everybody. That was so fun to talk about today. Very lightly scripted. Again, if you're interested in coaching about how you can achieve your fullest potential, leverage your inner wisdom with my Go Slow to Go Far model, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram. On a description box, I'll put a little link there. But again, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.